She was called Lena Ward, though no one used her name anymore. The name still existed in old records, buried deep in systems no one checked. In the alien facility where she lived, names were seen as unnecessary. Names suggested identity. Identity led to resistance. So she was given a number instead, stamped on her uniform and stored in a cold database. Over time, even Lena herself stopped thinking of her name. It felt like something from another life. The facility was large and gray, built from smooth metal that never showed age. The walls curved gently without corners as if trying to remove the idea of hiding places. Lights glowed softly at all hours, never bright enough to feel warm, never dark enough to allow rest. Time was measured by signals, not by day or night. Sleep came when the system allowed it. Work began when the signal sounded. Lena woke when she was told to wake. She stood when she was told to stand. She moved when the floor lights guided her forward. Her body followed rules even when her mind felt far away. At first, years ago, she had resisted small things. She had walked a little slower. She had looked guards in the eyes. She had asked questions. Each small act had been corrected. Correction in the facility was not loud. There was no shouting, no visible anger. Punishment was quiet and precise. Food portions changed. Rest cycles shortened. Isolation rooms were used. Over time, Lena learned that silence hurt less. So she became quiet. Her work was simple but endless. She sorted components, cleaned machines, carried materials from one section to another. None of it required thought. That was the point. The aliens believed thought led to hope, and hope led to trouble. They wanted bodies that moved and hands that worked, not minds that questioned. Lena's hands moved with skill born from repetition. She could assemble parts without looking. She could follow patterns without thinking. The guards noted her efficiency and marked her as stable. Stable meant broken enough to be useful. She rarely spoke. When spoken to, she answered with short words, never more than needed. Her voice sounded strange to her own ears, thin and unused. Sometimes she wondered if she would forget how to speak at all. Her eyes had changed over the years. They no longer searched rooms. They no longer reacted to sudden sounds. They stayed dull and forward, focused only on the task in front of her. The aliens noticed this too. It pleased them. Empty eyes meant acceptance. Other workers came and went. Some arrived angry. Some arrived crying. Some arrived hopeful, whispering plans of escape during rest cycles. Lena did not join them. She had learned that plans were dangerous. The ones who planned disappeared first. She had once been like them. Long ago, when she first arrived, she had believed someone would come for her. She believed humans would protest, demand answers, send ships. She believed the universe was fair enough that injustice would be noticed. That belief had lasted a long time. Longer than most. Every time the doors opened, her heart had lifted just a little. Every time footsteps echoed down the corridor, she had looked up. Each time it was only guards or overseers. Over time, her heart stopped lifting. Hope did not vanish all at once. It faded slowly like color left in the sun. Each disappointment took a little more of it away. One day, she realized she was no longer waiting. The aliens who ran the facility did not hate her. Hate required effort. They simply did not care. To them, she was a resource that had been processed and placed where it was most efficient. Once she stopped resisting, they lost interest in her completely. That, in some ways, was worse. During rest cycles, Lena lay on her narrow platform and stared at the ceiling. Her mind drifted, but not toward memories. Memories hurt. They reminded her of warmth, of choice, of laughter. Instead, her thoughts became shallow and slow. She focused on breathing. In and out. That was enough. Sometimes she dreamed, though she never remembered what about. She would wake with a tight feeling in her chest, tears on her face, and no idea why. The system allowed no time for confusion. Signals sounded. She stood. The feeling faded. There were moments when something inside her stirred. A sound, a smell, a word spoken in a familiar tone. Once, a guard spoke her name by mistake, reading an old tag before correcting himself. The sound of it hit her like a shock. Lena. For a brief second, the world felt sharper, closer. Then it passed. She learned to push those moments down quickly. Letting them grow only made the days harder. The facility had many levels, but Lena's world was small. She moved between work areas and rest chambers, always guided, always watched. She knew the texture of the floor beneath her boots, the hum of machines, the exact timing of the lights. She could predict her days perfectly. Predictable meant safe. The aliens believed she was finished because she no longer caused problems. She no longer slowed production. She no longer inspired others. When new workers arrived, she did not speak to them unless required. She did not warn them. She did not comfort them. She barely noticed them at all. Inside, something small and weak watched this happen. It felt like watching someone else live her life. That part did not speak. It only observed. Occasionally, the facility tested workers. Small changes were introduced to see who would react. A delayed food cycle. A false alarm. A sudden change in assignment. Some workers panicked. Some grew angry. Some broke down. Lena did none of these things. She adapted. She adjusted. She continued. Her number was marked as complete. One cycle, as she worked near a loading bay, she saw a new group brought in. Among them were humans. She recognized the way they moved, the way their faces held tension. One of them looked around wildly, eyes sharp, searching for something to hold on to. Lena looked away. She had learned that looking was dangerous. Caring was dangerous. As she turned back to her work, she felt a strange weight in her chest. Not pain. Not fear. Something quieter. Something like loss. She pushed it down. The aliens believed she was finished because they measured worth in resistance and productivity. They did not understand the slow damage of time. They did not see what had been taken from her piece by piece. They did not see the strength it had taken to survive this long. To them, Lena Ward was empty. They were wrong. But no one had noticed yet. Not in the cold halls of the facility. Not under the soft lights and quiet rules. Not while she walked her paths with lowered eyes and steady hands. The universe had moved on, and Lena had learned to move with it. She did not expect that to change. She did not expect anyone to stop. And she did not expect that, somewhere close, a human would see her not as a number, not as finished, but as someone worth refusing to walk away from. A new human technician arrived on the station during a maintenance cycle that most workers barely noticed. His name was Caleb Stone. He walked through the intake corridor with an easy stride that did not match the tight rules of the facility. His uniform was standard issue, but he wore it loosely, sleeves rolled just enough to break regulation. His eyes moved constantly, taking in details others ignored. He looked curious rather than afraid, which already made him different. Caleb had signed a short contract. He knew the work would be dull and the place unfriendly. He had been told to keep his head down, follow instructions, and not involve himself in anything outside his assigned tasks. He agreed to all of it. He never planned to follow most of it. From the first day, Caleb noticed things. He noticed how quiet the workers were. He noticed how they avoided eye contact. He noticed how guards spoke in flat tones, never raising their voices, never needing to. Most of all, he noticed one woman. Lena worked 2 stations away from him in the sorting sector. She moved with smooth, empty precision. Her hands were fast, her posture perfect. She never paused. She never hesitated. While others showed signs of stress or fatigue, she looked hollow, like someone going through motions without thought. Caleb watched her longer than he should have. Something about her bothered him. Not because she was loud or disruptive, but because she was too quiet. He had seen broken machines before. He knew the look of something still running even after it should have stopped. On his 3rd cycle, Caleb spoke to her. "Hey," he said softly as they worked side by side. "I'm Caleb." Lena did not react. Caleb glanced at her face. Her eyes stayed forward, fixed on the parts moving down the belt. She did not look at him. She did not answer. Most people would have taken the hint. Caleb didn't. "That thing jams sometimes," he said, nodding toward her station. "If it does, don't force it. It just makes more work." No response. Caleb frowned slightly, then shrugged. "Suit yourself." He expected that to be the end of it. It wasn't. The next cycle he spoke again. Then again the cycle after that. Sometimes he commented on the machines. Sometimes he talked about food back home. Sometimes he said nothing useful at all. Lena never answered. She did not acknowledge his presence in any way. Caleb noticed other workers watching him. Some looked confused. Some looked afraid. One quietly shook his head at Caleb when a guard wasn't looking. During a rest period, a supervisor approached him. The alien's voice was calm and flat. "Do not interact with Unit 74, it said. Caleb blinked. "She has a name," he replied without thinking. The supervisor's eyes narrowed slightly. "The unit is stable. Interaction is unnecessary." Caleb nodded slowly. "Got it?" He waited until the supervisor left. The next cycle he spoke to Lena again. "I guess you don't feel like talking," he said quietly. "That's okay. I talk enough for both of us." Lena's hands continued moving. Inside her chest, something tightened. She did not know why. She told herself to ignore it. Caleb noticed the smallest change. A shift in her breathing. a slight tension in her shoulders. It was enough. He lowered his voice. You don't have to answer, he said. I'll still say hi. Cycle by cycle he kept doing it. The aliens warned him again. This time more firmly. He was told interaction caused disruption. He was told silence was part of stability. He was told not to interfere. Caleb listened. Then he ignored them. He started timing his tasks so he worked near Lena more often. He shared small observations, never questions that demanded answers. He spoke like someone talking to a wall, comfortable with no reply. Lena told herself it meant nothing. But something inside her began to notice patterns. His voice. The way he paused as if leaving space for her. The way he never sounded angry when she stayed silent. One cycle, Caleb made a mistake on purpose. A small one. It caused a delay. The supervisor corrected him. Lena saw it happen. For the first time in years, she felt something close to concern. She hated it. The facility did not like Caleb. He disrupted efficiency. He ignored warnings. He smiled too much. Still, his work was solid. They tolerated him. Lena tried to shut everything down inside herself. She focused harder on her tasks. She avoided looking at him. Caleb noticed. You don't have to hide, he said one cycle. I'm not going anywhere. That sentence slipped through the cracks. Lena's hands trembled for half a second. Caleb saw it. He said nothing else that cycle. The aliens believed Caleb would learn. Humans always did, eventually. Fear usually taught faster than punishment. Caleb did not learn. He kept talking. Kept showing up. Kept refusing to treat Lena like a number. And without realizing it, he became the first person in a very long time who refused to walk away from her. When the order came, it arrived quietly like everything else in the facility. No alarms sounded. No announcement echoed through the halls. A single update appeared in the system logs, unnoticed by most. Unit 74 was marked for permanent isolation. Productivity acceptable. Psychological recovery, impossible. Continued integration risk, unnecessary. Lena did not know at first. She continued working, sorting parts, following lights on the floor. But the guards noticed the change in her schedule. Her rest cycle was shortened. Her assigned path shifted closer to the lower levels. The doors she passed through began to close faster behind her. Caleb noticed. He noticed because he paid attention to patterns. He noticed because Lena's routine had become familiar to him. When she did not appear at her usual station, his chest tightened in a way he did not like. He asked the supervisor. The alien looked at him with mild irritation. The unit has been reassigned. To where? Caleb asked. Isolation. The word landed hard. Caleb stared. Why? Function complete, the supervisor said. Emotional degradation irreversible. Continued presence inefficient. Caleb shook his head. You can't just lock someone away because they're hurt. The supervisor's eyes narrowed. You are exceeding your role. Caleb did not care. She's not broken equipment, he said. She's a person. Incorrect, the supervisor replied calmly. She is no longer a viable one. Caleb moved before thinking. He stepped into the path leading to the lower levels, placing himself directly in front of the guards escorting Lena. The corridor lights shifted to warning tones. Move, a guard said. Caleb didn't. Lena stood behind them, hands bound loosely as protocol required. She had not resisted. She never did. Her eyes were lowered, focused on the floor. She had accepted this without understanding it, the way she had accepted everything else. Caleb turned to look at her. Lena, he said. The sound of her name cut through the noise in her head. She froze. No one had said it in years. Not like that. Not clearly. Not gently. The guards repeated the command. Caleb held his ground. You don't need to do this, he said. She's not dangerous. She's not useless. You just stop trying. The supervisor arrived moments later. Step aside, it said. This unit is beyond recovery. Caleb laughed, short and sharp. You don't get to decide that. We already have, the supervisor replied. Caleb shook his head. You looked at silence and decided it meant nothing. You saw pain and called it failure. The supervisor tilted its head. Emotional attachment is impairing your judgment. Good, Caleb said. Maybe you could use some. The guards raised their weapons slightly, not aiming, but ready. Lena's heart pounded. This was wrong. This was dangerous. People who interfered disappeared. She had learned that lesson long ago. She wanted to tell him to stop. She couldn't make her voice work. Caleb took one small step back, closer to her. I'm not moving, he said. If you want her, you go through me. The corridor went silent. No one had ever said that before. The supervisor studied him. You will be punished. Caleb nodded. Probably. You will lose your position. Fine. You may be isolated as well. Caleb shrugged. Then I won't be alone. That was when Lena looked up. Her eyes met his for the first time. They were not empty anymore. They were wide, confused, and afraid. But they were alive. Caleb felt his chest tighten. He smiled at her, small and steady. Hey, he said. I told you I wasn't going anywhere. Something cracked inside her. The supervisor spoke again more sharply. Remove yourself. Caleb stayed where he was. Behind him, Lena took a shaky breath. The sound was quiet, barely there, but it was the first choice she had made in years. She straightened slightly. The guards hesitated. The supervisor noticed. Proceed. They did not. They had never seen this before. A human standing in defiance without violence. A worker looking up instead of down. Caleb did not move. He did not shout. He did not threaten. He simply stayed. And in that moment, Lena understood something she had forgotten. Someone was staying. Not because they had to. Not because they were ordered to. But because they chose to. The realization hurt. It burned. It scared her. But it also warmed something deep inside her chest that had been cold for a very long time. The supervisor made a sharp sound of irritation. This delay is inefficient. Caleb looked straight at it. So is cruelty, he said. The corridor remained locked in silence. And for the first time in years, Lena felt the ground shift beneath her feet, not downward but forward. The delay in the corridor did not end quietly. Reports moved through the station systems, first as simple notes about disruption, then as flagged concerns. A human technician had blocked a transfer. A unit marked for isolation had paused. Guards had hesitated. That alone was unusual. Caleb was removed from the corridor after several tense minutes. He did not resist. He walked calmly, escorted to a holding area meant for questioning. Lena was returned to her work unit, not sent to isolation as planned. The order was not cancelled, only paused. But pauses were rare. Pauses meant uncertainty. Word spread. It spread quietly, the way all dangerous things did in the facility. Workers whispered during rest cycles. Some pretended not to listen while storing the moment away. Others replayed the image in their minds, a human standing still, refusing to move. Many had never seen refusal before. Not like that. Most resistance in the facility was loud at first. Shouting. Fighting. Panic. It ended quickly. Caleb's defiance was different. It was calm. It did not try to win. It simply refused to step aside. That unsettled people. Other humans noticed first. They asked questions. Why had Caleb interfered? Why had the unit not been removed? Why were guards hesitating now? The aliens noticed too. Efficiency dropped by small but measurable amounts. Workers hesitated before following orders. A few made mistakes they normally would not. These were tiny disruptions, but the system was built to avoid even those. Lena felt the change before she understood it. She returned to her station, hands moving automatically, but something inside her had shifted. The memory of Caleb standing in front of her would not fade. It replayed again and again. His voice saying her name. His body blocking the way. His promise that he was not going anywhere. Her chest hurt in a way she had forgotten. It was not pain exactly. It was pressure. Feeling. She did not speak that cycle. Or the next. But she listened. She listened to the sounds around her. To footsteps. To voices. To the quiet tension in the air. The facility felt different, as if it was holding its breath. One cycle later, Caleb returned to work. He looked tired. There was a faint mark on his wrist where restraints had been used. But he was smiling. Lena saw him approach out of the corner of her eye. Her heart began to race. She focused on her task, afraid that looking at him would undo her. Guess they decided I was more useful out here, Caleb said lightly. She did not answer. That was a long talk, he continued. A lot of words. Not many good reasons. He glanced at her. You okay? The question hit her harder than any command ever had. She swallowed. Her mouth felt dry. Her throat ached as if unused. The sound came out rough, broken. Caleb froze. Lena felt panic rise. She had failed. She had made noise. She waited for correction. None came. Caleb turned toward her slowly, as if afraid to scare her. It's okay, he said softly. You don't have to say anything. Lena shook her head just a little. She took a breath. I'm here. The words were simple. They felt huge. Caleb smiled, not wide, not excited. Just steady. Yeah, he said. You are. After that, things changed in small ways. Lena began to speak once per cycle. Sometimes only a word. Sometimes a sound. No one punished her. The guards watched more closely now, uncertain. The supervisors made notes. Other workers noticed. They noticed that Lena was still there. That she had not been isolated. That a human had stood in her place and survived. Whispers grew bolder. One worker asked a question out loud during assignment. Another hesitated before following a harsh correction. These were small acts, but they were acts. The station overseer watched all of it. The Baron had ruled this sector for longer than most beings lived. He did not involve himself in daily operations. He believed systems should run themselves. Efficiency was proof of good design. But now the system showed strain. He reviewed reports. He watched recordings. He replayed the corridor incident several times. He saw the moment Caleb stepped forward. He saw the guards pause. He saw Lena look up. That moment interested him. The Baron had seen rebellion before. He had crushed it easily. This was not rebellion. This was loyalty. The Baron requested more data on humans. He learned that humans bonded quickly. That they were prone to emotional attachment. That they often acted against their own interest for others. This had been noted as a weakness. The Baron disagreed. Weakness broke under pressure. Humans seemed to harden. Caleb continued his work. He spoke to Lena every cycle. He did not push. He did not ask questions she was not ready to answer. He spoke as if her silence did not scare him. That mattered. Lena began to remember herself. She remembered how to choose words. How to shape thoughts. How to feel anger without breaking. Fear without freezing. It was slow. Painfully slow. But it was happening. The aliens noticed something else. Lena's efficiency did not drop. It improved. Her movements became more precise. Her attention sharpened. She made fewer mistakes than before. This confused them. The system had taught them that emotion reduced output. Lena was proving them wrong. The Baron watched closely. He saw humans not as weak but as stubbornly loyal. Loyal to each other. Loyal to the idea that no one was beyond saving. That kind of loyalty was dangerous. Or it was powerful. The Baron had not yet decided which. But for the first time in many cycles he leaned forward in his seat, interested in what humans might force the galaxy to become. The reversal came without warning, just as the original order had. One cycle, Lena was sorting components under watchful eyes. The next, her station lights dimmed and stayed dim. A supervisor approached, movements precise and careful. Lena felt the familiar pull of fear, the old instinct to lower her head and prepare for removal. Instead, the supervisor stopped at a respectful distance. The isolation order is withdrawn, it said. Lena did not understand the words at first. She waited for more, for correction, for punishment hidden inside the statement. None came. You are reassigned, the supervisor continued. Processing complete. The supervisor turned and left. Lena stood still, hands shaking. Around her, the machines kept moving. The facility kept breathing. But something had shifted. The path that had led only downward was gone. Across the station, Caleb felt the result before he heard the reason. His punishment had already begun. His work hours were extended. His rest cycles shortened. He was reassigned to tasks meant to wear people down. The message was clear. Defiance had a cost. Caleb accepted it without complaint. When he finally saw Lena again, she was no longer wearing the numbered uniform. It had been replaced with a plain gray outfit, unmarked. She walked carefully as if unsure the floor would hold her. He smiled at her, tired but warm. Guess we both survived. Lena looked at him. Really looked. You stayed, she said. Caleb nodded. Yeah. The Baron announced the decision to the council soon after. The facility's practices were adjusted. Permanent isolation was removed from acceptable outcomes. Human labor agreements were revised. Oversight increased. Some protested. Some warned of weakness. The Baron silenced them. This was not force, he said. This was refusal. The council listened. Caleb's punishment ended after several cycles. He was offered early departure from the station. He accepted without hesitation. Lena was given a choice. For the first time in years, a real one. She chose to leave. When the transport doors opened, she hesitated. The stars beyond looked too wide, too bright. Caleb waited beside her, giving her space. What if I can't do this? She asked quietly. Then we figure it out, he said. Together. She stepped forward. As the station faded behind them, Lena felt something settle into place. Not peace. Not yet. But possibility. Her records were restored. Her name returned. Lena Ward. The galaxy noticed. Humans were spoken of differently after that. Not as conquerors. Not as weaklings. But as something harder to measure. They did not walk away. And that changed everything.